start instead. Denver will reevaluate Wilson's hamstring injury this week and determine whether he can play next Sunday in London against the Jaguars. The Commanders have placed quarterback Carson Wentz on the injured reserve, so he will miss at least 4 games. Packers have also placed wide receiver Randall Cobb on the injured reserve, but wide receiver Sammy Watkins has been taken off. He will likely be limited tomorrow against the Commanders. In college football, Syracuse and Clemson were tied after the first quarter, but it was all Syracuse in the second quarter.
Snap back to Schrader, looking left, scanning, step through the rush, at the 10, at the 5, to the corner, diving. Schrader is in for the touchdown, Orange.
Matt Park from Learfield on the call. They're about to start the third quarter, and Syracuse is up on number 5 Clemson 21-10. At halftime, Cincinnati is beating SMU 20-14. I'm Monsi Bolaños.
This is the Parker & Sons Weather Center. For all your AC, plumbing, and electric needs, call Parker.
Sunny, breezy, and mild. Opening 30, about 87 degrees. Winds gusting to 25 miles an hour. Tonight, though, the clouds move in. We'll call it a 30% chance for overnight showers. The low 64. For the Fox 10 weather experts, I'm Corey McCloskey.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual.
Good morning. How are you?
Only pay for what you need. Dell Technologies provides growing businesses with tools to do incredible things.
Obsessed.
Because
Completely obsessed.
There's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro, that's time for Arizona's only local sports gambling radio show. Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Your home for uncensored sports betting opinions, analysis, and advice. The guys have you covered for all the games. Now, take the Points on Fox Sports 910 and the iHeartRadio app.
Good Saturday morning to you. Mike Gross, Jackson Groff from the CAZ Sports Bar, Casino, Arizona, on an absolutely glorious day in the Valley of the Sun, Jackson. But you know what? It's even better in here because you and I were just talking coming on the air here. This is a sports lover's day. I mean, I don't even know. Like Major League Baseball playoffs, college football, NBA, NHL regular season.
UFC, big card tonight. It starts in about 20 minutes or so. For all those UFC fans out there.
And the cool thing is, and we talk about this every Saturday, we love coming to CAZ Sports Bar. Friendliest people in the world. You broke the mojo of the show today. You did not have a breakfast Sammy. I did. I swear by it. And you can have one too if you come on out here and see us. But the bar is ready to go, taking care of people, drink specials. They got a great menu. Super friendly people, and the windows at the Sportsbook are open and ready for all of that. You went and pulled a couple of the sheets, and you left a couple up there because there's just so much going on right now. We got the NFL games for tomorrow, all the college football games. We got about 8 to 10 NBA games going on. Coyotes, I think it's too late if you wanted to bet on them. That game is underway, I believe, from Ottawa.
Yeah, is it too late, though? You might save some money if you don't bet on the Coyotes.
Unless they play on the Maple Leafs.
That is true. They did beat the Maple Leafs.
The Maple Leafs. There was the number out there, and I don't have it in front of me, but in the last 18 years, the Coyotes in Toronto, of all places, the number's ridiculous. So that one's in the rearview mirror, but lots going on here. And as I said, the team at Casino Arizona is awesome. The window's open, and we always tell you, they open up an hour before the game start, right? So Saturdays, this time of year, that means 9 a.m. kickoffs in college football local time. Don't roll in here at 8:59 and expect that you're going to get all your bets down. You got to plan accordingly because they did. They open up early so you can get in and get your business taken care of. Also, if you don't need help, if you got money in hand and know what you're going to do, to the left of us right here at CAZ Sports Bar, the self-service kiosks. They're open 24/7, all for your gambling pleasures. And once you do that, settle in. Big screen TVs going over our shoulders. We got a couple of games. Like I said, every Saturday morning just look forward to coming out here.
Are you more of a kiosk guy, or are you more of go up to the window and talk to the guys?
I'm a people person, Jackson.
Really?
I need to go up and you're like, hey, look, here's what I'm doing. And the guy looked at me last week. He goes, are you sure that's what you want to do? I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. Didn't work out so great for me last week. But no, I like going to the kiosk. They got a great team here, very friendly. And I want to make sure I get it right. At least when it gets entered in there that it's right. You might have an issue on the other end of it, but I prefer the people. What about you? Kiosk or people?
I'm a kiosk guy if I'm familiar with the machine.
Yeah.
But I'm not too familiar with the machine here at Casino Arizona. And I feel like the staff here does a really good job finding what bets and what futures I want to look at. And they kind of, you can always tell based on their emotion, based on their facial expressions, if you're in the right direction or if they're like, okay, maybe you're just wasting money.
I think I want to, and he's shaking his head like, no, you don't want to do that. Hey, what do we got in the opening line, Jackson?
Opening line, like you said, college football every single Saturday has been unreal. It's going to be tough to beat last week. We got a great slate of games so far. Right now, Ohio State, number 2 Ohio State is playing Iowa at home. They're up 26-10 in driving. So right now they're not really covering the spread yet. The spread was 30 points in favor of Ohio State, but still a lot left to play right now. A huge stat line. 10 of 18, 105 yards, and 1 interception for C.J. Stroud. Kind of off to a rough start against this Iowa team. That's 3-3 that we wish that I wish was playing better in the Big Ten, but maybe they can step out today and prove me wrong. Tennessee, UT Martin. So gross. There was no spread on this game, no over/under, which leads me to wonder if there's a cap limit for the spread because it's currently 52-7 right now, Tennessee.
Well, either that or after last week in Knoxville, man, like all-time great game. The way that finished. And then it finished after dark. They tore out the goalpost. They blew the lid off. I know they don't actually have a roof, but the fireworks on top of that stadium, maybe they thought the hangover was too great. They just don't want to mess around with that game because you don't know what you're going to get. Like, I give Tennessee credit not for scheduling this game because anytime you look at a schedule and see Tennessee and UT Martin, I mean, I get it with the SEC. This happens, but I don't love it. But the fact that they got that team together after that emotional win a week ago over Alabama, keep an eye on those Volunteers if you're not already.
The Volunteers are a very good team, and it's impressive that they got another field goal post in a short amount of time, in about a week or so.
Well, they started a GoFundMe because, a team with a $10 billion budget needs to fund a $35,000 goalpost that got dumped in the river.
Oh, yeah, because they have other mindset. They have other aspirations besides their goalpost that they want to spend on. But, yeah, Hendon Hooker right now, 18 for 24, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns at half. And his go-to wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt, that we saw last week, is already at 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. So those two are clicking every single week. But the huge shocker right now, 14th Syracuse undefeated at Clemson, undefeated. Number 5 seed Clemson. They're up 21-10 right now.
And I got the sheet
into the third quarter
that you pulled from the Sportsbook here at Casino, Arizona. And the line went off at Clemson -14. So if you put that wager down on Syracuse, you're leading in the game. Plus, you got a 14-point cushion right now.
Yeah,
to play with. The over/under is at 49.5 on that one. That one might be safe. But how about Syracuse coming out of the? We said they're like a Power 5 team that's not really a Power 5 team. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this year Cincinnati ? Maybe, but they're in the ACC. But when you think of the ACC, the first team that comes to mind, especially during football season, is not the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, it's Clemson. Then you probably think of North Carolina, NC State,
Florida,
Wake Forest, Florida State.
Yeah.
And maybe Syracuse then?
Maybe. They're at the end of the line for sure.
But, hey, 6-0. Dino Babers got the orange in check right now. They're 3rd and 24 right now on their own 5. So, tough first drive going into the third quarter. And then Cincinnati up 20-14 at half against SMU, 21 Cincinnati. And the spread on that one was
Cincinnati,
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
So, they're currently covering there. Baylor up 28-10 over Kansas. They're covering that as well. They got 10 points there. And then one of the bigger games, that is a big game, but it's not really a ranked two ranked teams, I guess. Duke up 17-7 at half against Miami. This was a Miami team that was ranked. This is a Miami team that people thought was going to not win the ACC, but compete against Clemson.
All over the map this team is.
Yeah. They got a lot of recruits coming in, too. When Cristobal will hopefully be able to turn it around with some guys that he wants in the program. But, yeah, not a good look for Miami when you're down 10 against Duke, another basketball school that's been impressive this year in the ACC. But, yeah, not a really not a lot of huge early games here. But when you look at the 12:30 slate, that's when it starts getting exciting, Gross.
Yeah, we'll get into those a little bit later on. We'll keep an eye on the scores of the games that are ongoing, particularly that Syracuse-Clemson game. And, again, that game is being played at Clemson. So this is on the road that Syracuse is working their magic today.
It's great to see that Michigan's not playing today.
Because I'm focused today.
You are very focused today.
I am dialed in today. Last week was a little bit of a struggle because of Michigan struggled early against Penn State before they put them away in the second half. So Michigan on a bye this week, or excuse me, somebody corrected the use of bye. Michigan has an open date today. It's not a bye technically.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
speaking of focus, we always let you say the Montana Grizz, they have what and when today?
They have Sac State at 8. That's why I'm also very focused today, because I usually tend to, the last 30 minutes or so, or right at 1 is when they start playing.
So you go to ESPN Plus, and
ESPN
everybody gets to watch them tonight.
Yeah, everyone gets to watch them. ESPN2, a little Big Sky after dark. It's a big game.
Where is that game, in Sacramento? Or?
Yeah, so it's at Sac State. Sac
Okay.
State's ranked 3rd. Montana's ranked 7th after a tough loss against Idaho, looking to bounce back. But we'll see, man. Sac State's tough. They beat Colorado State earlier in the year.
Besides the obvious for you as a Montana Grizz, I know the answer to this one is Montana State. But beyond that, when you were playing up there and the schedule came out every year, what was the game you guys circled besides Montana State? Who was that rival? Because it's weird. This is a huge conference, the Big Sky, and you don't always see the same teams on the schedule every year.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, it'd be the Eastern Washingtons. It would be the Weber States. It would be the Sac States. Idaho is our second rival, I guess,
Just
which
proximity?
we played them last week, but they're not really a rival to us. That's not a game you really circle on your calendar because they haven't been good until this year when they beat us actually last week. So.
Speaking of haven't been good, shout out to our good friend Charlie Regal, who is the first-year head coach at Idaho State, and a team that's been really struggling here lately. And Charlie took that program over. He's going to turn it around. Got his first win as the head coach of the Bengals up there. Lots of Arizona kids on the roster, but more importantly, Charlie Regal is the head coach. Great guy. We're rooting for him even when they play Montana. But the difference between Montana and Idaho State right now is pretty great, so I don't think I'll make you mad when I do that. All right, coming up on the show today, we've got a former host, not necessarily of Take the Points, but this show has gone through different iterations and different names and different stations. But Damian Anderson, who played college football at Northwestern, of course, local fans here know him for the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to talk to him about what he saw the other night from the Arizona Cardinals, maybe pick his brain a little bit on college football as well. But DA joins us here coming up in just a few minutes. And then, of course, at 12:30, our regular visit with Marco D'Angelo from WagerTalk.com. We'll get his thoughts on a college game and a pro game. The Cardinals are off, so we get to go off the grid and talk about a NFL game that doesn't involve the Arizona Cardinals. And one of the Arizona colleges, sneak peek, they have a reasonable line this week, so we'll put them back on the docket for Marco. But that's coming at 12:30. And, of course, in the last segment of this hour, around about 11:50 or so, Jeff Hudzo is on with us. Your chance to pick against Jeff, and if you beat him, you get a $50 gift card, and you're entered in to win a huge, super expensive, wicked awesome, very cool.
They got great TVs
TV
over there.
They got awesome TVs. We'll talk to Jeff Hudzo about that coming up in about 50 minutes or so. But we'll step aside here and take our first break of the day. He's Jackson Croft. I'm Mike Gross. We'll step aside on the other end of this. Our good friend Damian Anderson joins us. That's coming up next right here on Take the Points on Fox Sports 910.
Take the points. Powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Exclusive on Fox Sports 910.
Welcome back. Mike Gross, Jackson Groff taking up to 1 o'clock today. And this is very cool for me. This show, as a lot of people know, has been on air way back in the day. Rock and Wolf Game Day started it, and that was back in the 90s, man. And we've kind of powered this thing forward through the years. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of great hosts and great guys, good people. And one of them joins us now, my former co-host. I haven't talked to him in a million years. I texted him yesterday. He's like, yeah, I'll come on the show. It's Damian Anderson. Damian, Mike Gross, Jackson Groff, how are you, man?
What's up, Dame?
Mike Jackson, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Mike, as you said, we've had a lot of opportunities together, man, and I just appreciate you, thinking about me and having me on. Jackson, looking forward to connecting with you, man.
DA, I just appreciate you answering the call. And I got to say, tracking you, found you on social media, you and the team over there at PHNX Cardinals doing a great job. And I love the recap of the game the other night. A win. Cardinals fans finally get a win in Glendale. Your thoughts as a former Cardinal, man, like they wanted the stadium for so many years, and then to lose like that at home, for hard on the fans, hard on the players, but they got off the mark the other night against the Saints.
Yeah, Grossy. I mean, it was huge, right? I mean, they definitely needed. I mean, with the pressure mounting of I'd say a uneventful offense or a underperforming offense, and just the defense being able to carry this team as they've done, all season. Obviously, getting those 2 pick sixes and the additional interception in the end zone or the red zone, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was great for the community, obviously great for Cliff and company, but it was, as you guys know, it was great to have D Hop back on the field. He made a huge difference.
Hey, DA, and you mentioned D Hop, and I'm glad you did. And it's remarkable. Fox last week had the numbers, Kyler's numbers up, D Hop, without D Hop, and you just felt, with this game going on, there was something different by the fact number 10 back on the field for this team. Have you ever experienced that? Your great career at Northwestern, you played in the NFL. One single player that's not like a quarterback making that much of a difference on the team?
Grossy, I'd say probably the clearest thing would be a combination of two, right? It was either Anquan Bolden or Larry Fitzgerald, and these two were just freaks, and they had the ability to, dictate a game, whether it was coverage or not. And I think that having special players like that on the field, it draws so much attention and creates opportunities for everybody else. And I think that although that DeAndre Hopkins was heavily targeted, it just made opportunities in the running game, right? We saw Eno Benjamin, local product from ASU, go out there and have a day. We saw Keontae Ingram. He was a kid that, I trained in the offseason prepping him for, the NFL. And I just knew once NFL coaches saw him and saw his athleticism, saw his ability to catch the ball out of the field, they would be enamored and want him on the football team. So to see that offense take strides in the right direction, right? You saw the ability to run the ball and open up the middle of the field, which we haven't seen, and hopefully they continue on that path.
You mentioned Keontae Ingram, and when the 53-man roster came out, people were in question why the Cardinals had 5 running backs. Who's this Keontae Ingram kid? Why are they bringing back Eno Benjamin? Well, what did you work on with Keontae Ingram over the offseason, and what impressed you most on Thursday from his game?
Jackson, great question. I mean, for me, it was the elusiveness. I mean, his ability to naturally catch the ball and his size, right? And I think that coaches see that combination of size, speed, and height, and that's what they want in the game. And I think that, unfortunately, he had a long road, and he didn't get the glorious, early draft pick like everyone wanted, making that transition from Texas to USC. But I think once we saw as fans, once he got that opportunity, he could play. And in my position, I'm just prepping guys to take a test as we prepare them for the combine. And, hey, this is what the tests are. This is what you need to do to get better. My portion was on-field drills and catching the ball and being prepared, but he was definitely qualified for that. And we saw that. I mean, everything that you do, that elusiveness, check down, it's what you do after you have the ball in your hands. And I think when you continue to make plays, that's when that, the team, the offensive coordinators, Cliff Kingsbury, want you on the field because they know that you're a disadvantage, to that defense. They're going to win that matchup opportunities and get some of that yards after contact or yards after catch with Keontae and guys like Eno Benjamin do in a big way. And that's why that backfield's, very competitive. And that's, to your point, that's why they kept 5 guys.
Damian Anderson, former Northwestern running back and Cardinals running back. And I want to ask you, Damian, when you watched that game on Thursday, it was a good win, but there was a lot of areas that needed to be improved on. What do you think the Cardinals need to improve on most before they play the Vikings next week?
Jackson, great question. I think offensively, right? I mean, I think that everybody that knows football, especially everybody in the Valley, is very well entrenched of the history of the money spent in the investment on the offense, right? Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, these additions, making trades to get players. We saw Hollywood, we saw, Robbie Anderson, and now D-Hop, who's almost, I think it's somewhere in the range of, $30 million next year. And you want to see, consistency. You want to see production. You want to see more than, I'd say, 20 to 25 points a game. And I think that you want to see an electric quarterback who's, garnering $45 million. So, and don't get me wrong, they took a step in the right direction in Gross and Jackson. There's two ways that I got to look at this. There's facts and circumstances. Like as the fan, the knee-jerk reaction is y'all got to play better. Y'all have to, meaning the offense, because the defense, who's under promised and overperformed, right? I mean, that's what we've gotten from this defense. In terms of the offense, it's almost like they've overpromised and underperformed. And having Hop back on the field, I believe, has helped that, right? But I think that you need consistency to feel like you got a winner here. And I think for me, knowing, being a former player, knowing that everything's contextual, not having Hop on the field impacts that offense. But you hate to see, it's glaring in the first, roughly 6 weeks that the offense looked inept and they looked like they didn't have an answer. But once Hop came back, Gross, I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, this offense changed. They were doing different formations. They were putting Kyler under center. They were moving him around. And a lot of those nuances we didn't see the first 6 weeks of the season.
We're visiting with Damian Anderson, my former partner, former Arizona Cardinal, former Northwestern Wildcat. You see him as part of the PHNX Cardinals team. Damian, let's switch gears a little bit real quick. And your amazing career at Northwestern, part of the Big Ten, obviously. There's a lot of changes going on in college football, though. USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten, the transfer portal, NIL. Like, do you recognize the game that you were such a big part of? And not that long ago, you were a senior in 2000. So, it's not like you played, 50 years ago. I mean, the game is changing dramatically.
Well, I mean, Mike, I really think that they're just giving players the flexibility that the coaches have, right? I mean, it's okay for a coach to, have success and capitalize on it and go to another program and they get, highly compensated. And my thing, being a former player, have a son in college football, I mean, why not have those same, opportunities for players? However, I think that, like anything, it starts at home. It starts with that foundation of keeping the main thing, right? And that's also, knowing that you are a student athlete. But don't get me wrong, Grossy, if you got a kid that can make, millions of dollars and secure his future and do it the right way, like, why would you pass that up? Because we know how hard it is out here in life, right? Yeah. To get those opportunities to make money. So, if you could start off and reward a kid or team for, being good. I mean, I think that at this point, right, I think that it's the writing's on the wall that everyone else has profited off it. Why not the kids?
Who's been a team in the college football aspect, college football world? You obviously played at Northwestern. It sucks Northwestern's 1-5 this year, not a great year. But who's been a team that you've been impressed by in college football that maybe has surprised you this season?
Surprisingly, I would say just being in the pack, I would say UCLA, just what they've been able to do. I like Utah as well. I got to throw some, love over here to U of A, just offensively what, they've been doing. I got to throw, the part from being a dad perspective. Of course, I'd love A to be out there in the field more, often, but I get it. You know what I mean? Coach Fish has a job to do. But in terms of, just surprises, right? I'd say UCLA, just the fact that they've, beat some good teams. I'm anxious to see. I love the quarterback at USC. Alabama, they're always Alabama. There's the I think who's going to sneak up on teams is Clemson because they've been quiet and they just continue to win games. And I think that, from the national landscape, when you get to that Big Four, obviously Georgia is Georgia, but it's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy to win, guys, but, it makes it a lot easier when everybody on your team is 6'5" and 6'2", 225 and runs a 4.3, right? And that's what they're dealing with in Georgia and in Alabama. So anytime that you get the underdog that can be consistent, go out there and find different ways to win, like we did in college in that 2000 when we went spread and no huddle, and what we've seen the game has, navigated and grown to, right? Kind of the pioneers of that. You appreciate it, and you're happy those guys are competitive, and just to see the offensive firepower out there week in and week out. Got to give a shout out to Coach Iguano too. Good luck on his, on them and ASU going out to Stanford this week. Had a huge win against, Washington. So, I mean, it's just good football, man. It's just good football to watch. It feels good not to be, have really any skin in the game besides your son and wanting him to do well and the team to win. But other than that, it feels good to take a step back and just watch everything going on.
So, I'm not going to let you get out of here without telling the story, DA. Like, you and I did this show. I don't even remember when it was, but we did this show a bunch of years ago. But when they told me, hey, you're going to do the show with Damian Anderson, I'm like, no, I'm not going to work with that guy. Because my first remembrance of the name Damian Anderson came on a Saturday in November. I was driving around in Flagstaff, Arizona, trying to find ESPN to get an update because Michigan was going to beat Northwestern. I just wanted to get the final score. And all I'm hearing is Damian Anderson this, Damian Anderson that. Damian Anderson goes off for 268 yards and 2 scores against my Wolverines, and then I get to do a radio show with him. But,
Hey, Grossy, that's how the universe works, man. We brought it together, it shows you that I'm a good guy, show me that Michigan people are great people too. And speaking of performances, how could you not, appreciate what Blake Corum's doing at the University of Michigan? I think that they finally put him in the Heisman talk.
Yep.
Love his game, his ability to run inside and out and catch the football, and he's just tough, and you love that. And he's a Big Ten, so we're all family, at the end of the day. But yeah, man, it's been, great over the years. I call them building blocks,
yep.
My foundation, and you're one of those great bricks, Grossy. So always appreciative.
No, and I love you, man. And like I said, it was I got over it quick, fast, in a hurry, as B Train says. And we had a good time doing that show together. And DA, on a Saturday, we definitely appreciate your time. Keep up the great work with the team over there covering the Cardinals. Love it every game. You got the post game podcast, and it's really good work you guys are doing, and I encourage people to check it out.
Thank you, Grossy. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have fun over there, and definitely don't forget to tune in and listen to Grossy and Jackson, man. You guys are great.
There we go.
Right,
Damian Anderson, appreciate your time on a Saturday. Always good to catch up with an old friend. And like I said, Saturday, he's watching football, and he makes time for us. We appreciate it. We'll step aside. We're going to come back. We'll check the scoreboard. Lots going on in college football, and we'll bring it to you. That's coming up next.
Powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Thanks again to Damian Anderson for joining us in the last segment. Always good to catch up with an old friend, but I got an issue, man.
What's the issue?
I was his partner way back in the day. I got him on the show, and he drops not one, but two. I wasn't counting, but I heard it. Great questions on you. What's up with that?
They were pretty good questions.
Well, I didn't get a great question from my former partner, man.
Hey, it's the first time we met too, so he might have been a little nice. You know, I'm a rook, so
all right,
great guy. But hey, I thought the first one at least was a good question, so we'll take it.
Well, and like I said, talking to guys that played kind of in that transition, like you think about, eras of college football. You had like all the way back into the black and white video days, right, or the movies, I guess, at that point, and then kind of transition up. Damian was right on that cusp, playing in the late 90s, early 2000, when, the money was just blowing up, but the restrictions on the players were in place. And, to hear him talk about, hey, look, man, take care of the coaches, take care of the players, right? And, the NIL and the transfer portal does just that. And his son, he mentioned his son who's at the U of A, he started off at Damian's alma mater, and it just didn't work for him. So it wasn't anything because the coach that recruited him is still there, Coach Fitzgerald. But, there's no restrictions. Coaches can move, players should be able to move. And so his son was able to transfer to the U of A and play for the Wildcats. Had a great year last year. But, just interesting to hear his thoughts, right? And Bertrand Berry, who I did a radio show with, and it's in a podcast, you can probably find the story somewhere. He talks about, he played at Notre Dame, of course, and he talks about walking across campus to go to the ATM to get a few bucks out because he's hungry. And he wants to go get something at Taco Bell, I think he said. And he didn't have enough money. Like, he didn't have $10 in his checking account to get money out at the ATM in the bookstore. But he looks through the window of the bookstore, and they're selling his jersey inside. But he doesn't have enough money in his checking account to go get something to eat. So, the disparity there, try to knock that down a little bit and create a little bit of opportunity because there is so much money floating around college football these days.
I like the nickname Grossi, too, that he said there. Well, can I call you Grossi?
You can call me whatever you want. I get that one, and Grossi. Then Minucci and McCabe, those guys call me Grosser. Whatever you want, man. Just as long as we're doing a show together, I'm all good. And we didn't mention at the top, shout out to our friend Mike Bauer. He gets the day off today, off doing something cool, I'm sure. But he'll be back with us a week from now. All right, let's jump back into it. This is Take the Points, and we look at things from, the wagering aspect. Obviously, the games being played on the field, those are important. But, you want to make some money while you're at it. That's how you do it. Come on out to the CAZ Sports Bar, Casino, Arizona. Visit the Sportsbook. They got a great team in place to take care of you. But let's take a look at the scoreboard. Looks like Ohio State's starting to pull away, Jackson. Yeah,
Ohio State's starting to pull away, 40-10 right now, and they're currently covering the spread. They were favored by 30 points there, so all those Ohio State bettors can relax and watch the rest of the game knowing that they'll probably cover the spread. But for all those people betting on Clemson, watch out because they're down 21-10, the end of the third quarter. Heading into the fourth quarter right now, Clemson's got the ball, and Syracuse was an underdog of 14 points in this matchup. So you need a huge switch from Clemson here if you bet the spread on Clemson minus 14 because it looks like the Syracuse Orange will cover at least.
And this, we talk about, we are week 7, week 8, depending on the games and the schedules where teams are at. And Syracuse, deep fans know they're undefeated. Obviously, they're 14th ranked in the country, but this is not a team that's getting a lot of attention. There's not a lot of, oh my gosh, do you see what Syracuse is doing? And even with the amount of broadcasters that Syracuse produces, it's just that team is flying under the radar. But you look at this, right? They got a win against the Big Ten. They got 2 or 3 wins in the ACC, and if they hang on and win at Clemson today, and then followed up a week from today, a home against Notre Dame, sky's the limit for this team, man. I mentioned Cincinnati of a year ago, and I know they're in a Power 5 conference. They don't have. Keep an eye on this Syracuse team if they hang on.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is Syracuse's defense is ranked 8th in the country. 3 turnovers so far that the Syracuse Orange defense has produced. And then we mentioned the 12:30 slot. We mentioned it in the first segment. There's been a lot of movement right now, and I want to mention this. The biggest movement has been Ole Miss LSU. So earlier in the week, Ole Miss was favored 1.5. Sorry, yeah, they were favored 1.5. and then it moved to them being a 2-point underdog, them being a 3-point underdog, and now the current odds is even between Ole Miss, number 7 seed Ole Miss, and LSU right now, which I find interesting how the line moved so much throughout the week.
Well, you know what it is. It's follow the money, right? When we have Marco on, he talks about that. And he'll say, this number opened at such and such. And he goes, but then the sharps came in and moved it one way or another. And it's follow the money, right? You know, this is how this game works. So you got to pay attention. You can't bet emotionally. You got to pay attention and almost treat it like a business.
Yeah, and then at 12:30 as well, UCLA, number 9 UCLA, is playing at 10 Oregon. Oregon is favored by 7 here. And when we look at the most top wagered underdogs, UCLA at +6. 78% of people wagered for UCLA to cover the 6 points against Oregon. I like this matchup against UCLA. It's going to be a great game. The over-under there, I believe, is 70.5.
Yeah, the points are going to fly. I can't get on board with that UCLA move. And I get it. I know where the numbers are moving, Jackson, but I'm not on board with that. I don't understand it. I just look at the difference between these two teams. I think it's stark. It's very noticeable to me. And we talked about this with Oregon when they got that wake-up call early in the season, right? And they've been pretty impressive ever since then. So I don't see how this UCLA defense slows down Oregon.
Another game that starts around 12:30 is Texas at Oklahoma State. Now, Texas is ranked 20th. Oklahoma State ranked is 11th. This is where I don't understand here. Texas, after almost losing to Iowa State last week, Oklahoma State losing to TCU in a double overtime game, a good TCU team, and Texas is favored by 6.5 points. And when you look at the most wagered underdogs, the second most wagered underdog was Oklahoma State +6. 72% of people are on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they're not buying the Texas Longhorns, particularly after, like you said, what they saw from last week. You know, whether or not they passed the eye test or not with that one. Hey, coming up in a few minutes, we're going to ask for callers to call in and pick against Jeff Hudso. Your chance to win a gift card and be entered in to win a TV later on the season. So stay tuned for that coming up in our next segment. Real quickly, we've talked a lot of college football. We'll come back to it, obviously, with the games going on. Big news in the National Football League this week, not on the field, where the 49ers and the Panthers made a trade. And obviously, we know a week ago Sunday, issues with Robbie Anderson, where he was sent off the field to the locker room. And that one didn't surprise me so much. It surprised me that the Cardinals called so quickly, but it didn't surprise me that the Panthers were done with him. But the Panthers dealt away Christian McCaffrey and check this out, Jackson, with the line moves on this one. And this is fascinating to me. BetOnline moved the Niners title odds from 16 to 1 to 14 to 1 initially, but quickly dropped them to 12 to 1, and now they stand at 11 to 1. So you talk about watching the money move. Ooh. And you can see exactly what's happening on the addition of one player. And I want to ask Marco about this when he comes on, because usually when we talk to him, the only type of player that's going to move an individual game line is going to be the quarterback. You know, if you lose a starting quarterback or get somebody back unexpectedly, that's going to move the line. And it's only a couple of points in a game situation. To see the 49ers championship odds move so dramatically with the addition of a running back, very talented running back, no doubt, but a guy that struggles to stay on the field the last 3 years, let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think that's fascinating. And the other thing that I think is interesting about this whole thing is the sportsbook manager at BetOnline AG said, obviously McCaffrey's going to be a good fit for that Shanahan system, and all the bets are coming in. But the thing is, San Francisco has looked like a very, very average team so far this year. Can't disagree with that either. And again, one player coming in, making that kind of difference, that's not a quarterback. I'm really fascinated by that.
Yeah, and I think there was two things that stood out about this trade. Was one, how many picks they gave up for a running back, which I don't think I've ever seen that before. Obviously, McCaffrey's a stud, injury prone, like you said. And then number two, I think this is crazy timing for bettors out there, because after they lost to the Falcons, I think the odds of them winning the Super Bowl was increased, I guess, or decreased, however you look at it. Like you said, it was 16 to 1 at the start of it. So I wonder what it was before that. And then 11 to 1 is just...
That's a huge move in like 4 days.
Huge move. And with someone that doesn't know the playbook right now, they have, I believe, the over-under for his yards this weekend is 75.5, which blew my mind. I guess they think he's just going to go in there and start and get things rolling. And then the odds of him scoring a touchdown is plus 150.
Well, and you look at this team already. You know, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, if he's healthy. I mean, this is a team that's not. It's not like they have a huge void that needed to be filled. So now the question becomes, how do you spread it around and keep everybody happy? And the best part of this, as we head to break, is the Shanahan, John Lynch had the press conference, and they talked about, it's great to get Christian McCaffrey. It's even better that we kept him from going to L.A. because when you look at where the expectation where he would end up, it was San Francisco and L.A. at the top of the list. And so the 49ers had the draft capital, obviously, to make this pick that perhaps the Rams did not. So, it's always interesting to see that in a division where all the teams, with the exception of the Seahawks, have really underperformed so far this year. All right, we'll step aside here. On the other side, our good friend Jeff Hoodsaw joins us. We're going to pick some games with him. That's coming up next right here on Take the Points.
Take the points. Powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Hey, don't forget, Monday Night Tailgate, every Monday night right here in the CAZ Sports Bar at Casino, Arizona. Your chance to win cash just for watching football. Tons of ways to win money. The kickoff jackpot, $1,400 right now?
Whew, yeah, it's rising. We haven't seen anything close so far for a kickoff return on Monday Night Football.
And the guys had $25 after every score. Plus, you can win cash with the squares each quarter. They got props going on, and some weeks football bingo. Do it all here. It's free. All you got to have is a player's reward card and great food and drink specials every Monday night. You're here every Monday night with the guys.
That's the best part.
What more could you ask? Doors open at 4 o'clock. Come on out. Monday Night Football here at the CAZ Sports Bar at Casino, Arizona. All right, as regular listeners to the show know, this is the time of the day when we head out and welcome back to the show a regular contributor, regular picker. I don't know, what's his record right now? I'm not going to let him talk.
I'm not going to lie. Jeff Hudzo is on fire.
All right.
He went 3-0 last week, and the week before that, he picked ASU beating Washington.
So we'll let that percolate for a minute. Let's talk business first, then we'll let Jeff do his picks. Jeff, how are you today?
Boys, I'm doing fantastic. I'll let you guys toot my horn as much as you want.
Before we do
one in the last 2 weeks, pretty solid.
Pretty solid indeed. Before we do that, because I have a feeling that that's all we'll talk about, tell us about what you got going on at Best Deal AZ. I love getting the emails every week in my inbox, checking out the deals, the specials. What do you got this week that people should pay attention to, Jeff?
This is a crazy deal posted on our Facebook page yesterday, but we have a 65-inch 4K smart TV with room to $299.
Good Lord.
Just crazy prices we have on a lot of stuff. So if you need a big TV, you need a little TV, you need an in-between, we have them all in stock right now.
People know if you listen to this segment every week, you make your picks, and then we take callers. They'll pick against you. The winner, if they beat you this week, they get a $50 gift card to Best Deal AZ. And they'll be entered in to win a 75-inch 4K smart TV. What is a 75-inch 4K smart TV, Jeff?
75-inch 4K smart TVs. I have Vizios in stock right now, $549 and up. LG, Samsung, Sony, a little bit of everything we got right now.
So come on in, dial in your chance to beat Jeff, and you're entered for if and it's a big if lately. If you beat Jeff, you get a gift card and your chance to win that 75-inch 4K smart TV. All right, Jeff, enough business. Now we let you make your picks. We got 3 games. You do it every week. Jackson will take you through them.
Yeah, Jeff's been on fire, so it's going to be tough for listeners to beat him here. But first game, Jeff, we got Arizona State at Stanford. Stanford's favored in this matchup by 2.5 points, and the over-under is 53.5. Who do you like in this matchup?
You know, Stanford's 2-11 against the spread in their last 13. So as the show states, I'm taking the points. Give me ASU plus 2.5.
Okay, taking the points. You're a big take the points guys. You did that twice last week. We'll move on to the prime time game of the weekend. College football, number 9 UCLA at 10 Oregon. -6.5 favored in Oregon, and over under is 70.5. Who do you like in this matchup, Jeff?
I am a Chip Kelly guy. And did you know that UCLA is 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 road game? Take the points. UCLA is going to win outright, but I'm taking the points.
I like it. We'll have to keep that audio in file just to make sure if UCLA wins this one as well. But all right, Jeff, we're going to the NFL. Obviously, the Cardinals do not play this weekend. They already played Thursday and won, thank God. But we're gonna talk Chiefs, 49ers. Chiefs favored by 2 here. 49ers just got McCaffrey. Over under 49. Who do you like in this matchup at San Fran?
You know, I'm a big San Francisco and Shanahan guy, but I also love the Chiefs. So in the battle of tight ends, I'm going to take Travis Kelce, and I'm going to take the Chiefs.
All right. Going with the Chiefs there. Okay.
He's been on fire lately. We'll post these on social media after the show. And, Jeff, again, we'll invite our listeners, check out your website, bestdealaz.com. If you get online, pick against Jeff, your chance to win that $50 gift card and entered for an opportunity to win a 75-inch 4K smart TV. Jeff, good stuff. We'll do it again next Saturday.
Thanks, boys. See you later.
Jeff Hudzo, always good to catch up with him. Real quickly before we head to break, check the scoreboard, Jackson. Clemson,
2 minutes.
They're making me sweat, man. All of a sudden, I could care less about Syracuse, but I like the idea of Syracuse going undefeated into South or hosting, Notre Dame next week in New York. 21-16, 11 and a half to go in the fourth quarter. Syracuse leads Clemson, that game being played in South Carolina, but Clemson has the ball trailing by 5 right now.
Yeah, and Clemson just made a quarterback change with Cade Klubnik, the 5-star quarterback freshman that a lot of people were excited about. They wanted him to start over DJ Ungalele. DJ's had a great season so far, but 13 for 21, 138 yards, and 2 interceptions is not going to cut it against a really good Syracuse defense. They're putting in Klubnik right now, so we'll see what happens with this Syracuse-Clemson game. I want Syracuse to win just for, we'd love to see a good upset and a weekend where there's not a lot of great games. It'd be cool to see an upset against Clemson.
Pat Forty has something out there where apparently, and I'll dig into it, Syracuse shooting themselves in the foot with a couple of dumb penalties here in the fourth quarter. That's going to do it for hour number 1. Thanks to our guests. We had Damian Anderson on earlier talking about the Cardinals and college football. And, of course, you just heard Jeff Hudso. Still to come on the show, we welcome in Marco D'Angelo of WagerTalk.com for his weekly visit. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hour number 2 coming to you live from the CAZ Sports Bar at Casino, Arizona.
Arizona, your home for uncensored sports betting opinions, analysis, and advice. The guys have you covered for all the games. Now, take the points on Fox Sports 910 and the iHeartRadio app.
In hour number 2, Mike Gross, Jackson Groff. Coming to you from the CAZ Sports Bar at Casino, Arizona. Big crowd today, as usual. Games aplenty on the big screen TVs and lots of folks here to help you out. Sportsbook, fully staffed. They got the self-service kiosk, bar, restaurant, all good here at Casino, Arizona. I've already had breakfast, and I'm on my A game because of it. Had the breakfast Sammy, and I'm all good for the rest of the day. We're going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to look back at what happened in sports gambling last weekend. But before we do that, Jackson, give us an update on that Clemson-Syracuse score, because I'm not happy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Clemson drove down the field. They're up 24-21 against Syracuse. They were down 11 heading into the fourth quarter. Scored 2 back-to-back touchdowns. Will Shipley, 50-yard rushing touchdown. He's currently at 24 carries, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns rushing. They've also made a change at quarterback. Cade Klubnik is in the game as well. But Syracuse, looking to drive right now. They're at the 49-yard line, 3rd and 6.
All right. Last Sunday was a crazy day in the National Football League. And I'm going to throw a couple things out here just to illustrate how crazy it was. And the first one is from NBC Sports Edge Betting. They listed the ultimate underdog parlay. And these odds are powered by BetMGM. If you would have taken moneyline bets on these 5 teams, the Patriots plus 110, the Steelers plus 360, the Giants plus 220, the Falcons plus 200, and the Jets at plus 280. And you just put a simple, like I said, moneyline bet, 5-team parlay, $100 bet. That would have paid out $35,139. But think about where we were Sunday morning before these games kicked off. There's no way. I would have been like, why don't you just light a $100 bill on fire?
Yeah.
The Jets are going to go into Green Bay? No. That's crazy talk. The Falcons are not better than the 49ers. The Steelers, they can't beat anybody.
Yeah,
that was an insane group of games last Sunday morning.
Well, it's crazy. Even if you put $10 on it, you're still winning 3.5K, which is still a great buyout if you win thousands of dollars on a parlay like that. I've done so many of those parlays before and haven't hit. I want it to be me one day. It's going to happen one day.
If you like that, this one is I don't know if anybody actually placed that bet. This one is verified as a bettor at Caesar Sports hit the parlay of a lifetime on Sunday. And if you thought that one was crazy, check this one out. This person bet $55, and it's going to take me a second to go through all this. And they're all money line bets, live money line bets here. He took the Steelers, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Colts, the Falcons, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Giants, and the Jets. All those ranged from plus, on the high end, plus 340. The Vikings their live money line was minus 120. So kind of not a huge range, but a decent range. Bet $55. All of those hit. This bettor took home $397,759.56 on that one.
Straight cold cash, baby. Wow. I wonder what the cash out was when it came down to that last leg of the parlay. Yeah. If it was through FanDuel. I wonder or any kind of sports betting app. I wonder what the cash out was there. I wonder if it was like $150,000. That's so much pressure. Do you pull out there? Do you kind of wait for the last one? It's like you started out with $55.
Can you imagine like the mindset when you're sitting down getting ready? Okay, it's Sunday. Again, if this person's in New York, early Sunday afternoon, just had breakfast, maybe brunch out by Central Park somewhere. I don't know. And you're like, I got a couple bucks in my pocket. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I'm going to do something crazy. And your friend fills this form out and shows it to you. You laugh at him.
Yeah. I saw this one guy that actually had his girlfriend fill out a parlay. It was like a 5-team parlay. And it was like crazy odds like that. And it ended up hitting. So I might have to ask a girl that I know, or maybe my sister or my mom, or I don't know, and say, hey, who are you feeling in these games? And maybe it'll work, because what I'm doing right now is not working.
No, what I'm doing right now is not working, because what I just read there, I pretty much did the opposite of last week. I pretty much did the opposite, sitting on my couch Sunday morning, getting ready to watch the games. Whatever those guys did, Mike, why don't you go ahead and do the opposite and take your money and run.
Well, you mentioned NFL underdogs. The top 3 most wagered underdogs for tomorrow's games. The New York Giants +3 at Jacksonville, which I found surprising. Jacksonville has got a good offense, but the Giants have been red hot, only lost 1 game. 72% of people are betting on the Giants spread there. And then also Seattle +5 at Chargers. 71% of people are on Seattle. Detroit +7 at Dallas. 64% are on Detroit. And I think this is a good Detroit team. Don't look at the record, folks. They're only, I believe they're 2-4 right now, maybe 1-5. But they've had some injuries. Jared Goff has been playing well. I kind of like that +7 there in a game that is Dak's first game since week 1.
And we have it here, and I'll pull it up. If I'm looking at a game with the Lions, because you're exactly right, a lot of injuries, a lot of bad luck. Honestly, Lions fans are used to that, but I don't know that I can go and take that kind of bet on the Lions at this point. You got to like them coming off a bye. You got to like them where Dallas, they've got their quarterback coming back, but he's coming off the injury. I love any game the Lions play in. I love the over because this defense has all kinds of issues. And if you watch Hard Knocks this late summer, early football season, you love Aaron Glenn. You love everything about what you saw about and I know that's why they do the Hard Knocks. Some of the players on that defense, but it's not a great defense. And you look at the point totals that they've given up all year. I love any over in a game the Detroit Lions are in, including this one tomorrow at Dallas. And we grabbed the sheet here at Casino Arizona from the Sportsbook. And as you were just saying, Dallas is favored by, on what I have here, it's 6.5. But the total is 49, Dallas and Detroit. And I'm over that if I'm betting that game.
Yeah, and you wonder if the Cowboys offense can put up points to kind of contribute to that over. That over has been one of the biggest swings throughout the week. It was at 47.5, and now it's at 49. A 1.5 point swing throughout the week. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Falcons are also 6-0 against the spread. That's another thing news right there. And they play the Bengals. Bengals in favored by 6.5 right there. And then don't bet on the Colts, folks, because the Colts are 0-6 against the spread in the first half.
Hard team to figure that Indianapolis Colts.
They're so up and down.
They are, and that whole AFC South is weird. We were talking about this before the show started, I think, and I took the Jaguars to win over 6.5 games this year, and now I'm not so confident watching them. They're so much better football team. They're getting Urban Meyer out of their system and everything that meant last year, and I think you have an idea. You did last year, of course, but I think you have even better idea of how dysfunctional that team was a year ago by watching the team this year. But they're getting creative in ways to lose games, which worries me about that 6.5 number right now.
They had such a great start too. They're
so much better.
They lost to the Commanders week 1, which was a tough loss. They lost to the Eagles, which they were up by 14. They lost 29-21. They lost against the Texans. You cannot lose against the Texans. 13-6 was the final score. And then they lost to the Colts. So they're on a 3-game losing streak right now, playing the Giants at home. They got Giants, Broncos, Raiders. They could win 3 games there. The Raiders haven't been promising. The Broncos with Russell Wilson out, and then obviously the Giants. Yes, the Giants have only lost 1 game, but I'm not super high on the Giants or the Jets personally. But hey, it's good for the morale. Congrats, guys! You guys are 5-1 through 6 games.
Well, it's good for the league too. I saw something that the Jets and the Giants were week 6 of the NFL season, both over 500 for the first time in like 15 years or something like that. And in the media center, New York City, people love that, get the attention games on the field. All right, looking at Ohio State, I know we're looking at kind of some overarching stories here, but Ohio State pouring it on Iowa right now.
Yeah, they covered. They definitely covered.
I saw somebody, I think it might have been Darren Ravel, who's an interesting follow on Twitter if you're interested in this sort of thing. Darren Ravel said, I don't know what the end game is going to be, but he liked the first half bet. I think it was Iowa plus like 18 or 19, and I think that paid. But the other thing that I want to do before we get out of here is Thursday night football. Obviously, the Cardinals and the Saints. It was actually finally, for no matter who you were rooting for, a good game on Thursday night. Entertaining football, and Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit talk about finally some points for them, some touchdowns. But I love Al Michaels, and he doesn't care anymore in a good way. And he'll say whatever's on his mind. Obviously a couple of weeks ago he threw some stuff out there about Daniel Snyder and the situation with the Washington Commanders.
It's good to see him more relaxed.
Much more relaxed. He is himself. And as he was going, and I tweeted this out, going to halftime, he said, "A point and a half from the promised land for those of you who know what that means." I love that. Al Michaels throws it out there. A couple weeks ago, Cleveland was on Thursday night, and they scored a meaningless late touchdown. And he goes, "Well, it's not meaningless to everybody." So Al Michaels gets it. And like I said, it feels like he's got a little bit more freedom, or maybe he's just at that point in his career where it doesn't matter. And he still has Malibu Kelly Hayes right there calling his spotting for him. So he's doing well. And I love the pairing with him and Kirk Herbstreit.
I think Kirk Herbstreit kind of gives him that relaxation too. He's got that soothing voice. He's really good at breaking down plays. I think he's one of the best to do it.
Right.
That combo is a combo that we never thought would work. We never thought we'd see it, but damn sure it does work. But yeah, when you're Amazon Prime after that game, you're like, thank God. We finally hit an over. Finally have some touchdowns here. It was getting worried. People were like, we want a refund back for Prime Video. We want 3 months. Free subscription. Now I don't think you have to do that anymore, as next week the Ravens and the Buccaneers play on Thursday night, which is another good matchup. So if you're an Amazon Prime guy, if you're Jeff Bezos, you're smiling from ear to ear.
Well, you already were smiling from ear to ear. I saw something that said that Amazon had more people sign up for Prime Video before week 1 of the NFL season than they did the entire Black Friday to Christmas season a year ago. And then they announced that in 2023, so 1 year from right now, the first ever Black Friday football game will be played and broadcast on Amazon Prime.
And we talked about it yesterday on Rockin' Minutes with Jimmy B, 1 to 4 Monday through Friday. We talked about the NFL Sunday Ticket. What streaming service are they going to use? They're kind of going to go away from DirecTV. I know Netflix was one mention. I know YouTube was one mention. It'd be interesting to see like if a Netflix were to get the NFL. I know it's not what the Netflix's identity is, but like you said, with people downloading and subscribing for Prime Video, a lot more people would subscribe for Netflix even more if the NFL Sunday Ticket was available for Netflix.
Well, the bottom line for these companies, Netflix, whoever ends up getting it, what it is it's a business, right? And what they are gauged on when they do their Wall Street earnings is your subscriber count, right? And when they come in and say, we lost subscribers, their stock gets hit. And I guarantee you, if they land that their subscriber base will go through the roof, and that will be good for the bottom line. So whether or not they're a sports entity or not, it doesn't matter. They see that it's working for Amazon, and if you're trying to keep up with Amazon, you got to do it. So I think it'll be fascinating to see where it goes. And I think it's also interesting to see that the NFL figure out new and different ways to increase the bottom line, because that's really what matters here, like that revenue sharing that they do. And the DirecTV product after AT&T bought it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It is horrible. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a servicing issue why they're going away from it. So
I actually found some odds for the NFL Sunday Ticket for the next provider.
Let's do that on the other side.
Let's do it.
Take a break. Still to come in this hour in about 10 minutes or so, our good friend Marco D'Angelo from WagerTalk.com. He joins us. We're going to break down a couple of games with him. Also get his thoughts on the addition of Christian McCaffrey in the Bay Area. But we'll take a break here, come back and take a look. Who is going to land the NFL next and help their bottom line? That's coming up on the show.
by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Welcome back in. Coming up in our next segment, Marco D'Angelo from WagerTalk.com. We'll have him on and break down a couple of games with Marco like we do every Saturday. Before we do that, Jackson, you had some good information you wanted to share. I don't know if it's technically sports gambling, but
yeah, I don't really know about how reliable the site is, but we'll kind of reference it, I guess. Maybe
why not?
We'll give us some ideas. Apple right now is the leader in the clubhouse at plus 100 to land the NFL Sunday ticket. I don't know if that's Apple TV, Apple in general, whatever. Apple is Apple. They're the leader in the clubhouse. And second right now at plus 150 is Disney/ESPN/ABC. And I don't know about that one personally because ESPN has their own games. Fox has their own games.
Yeah.
CBS. I wouldn't think if Fox or CBS or NBC would want their games to be on an ESPN. I don't know how that works with the two networks. If you want your game to be on ESPN like that. And then next would be plus 200 with Amazon, plus 300 Comcast, YouTube at plus 450, HBO Max at plus 500, DirecTV keeping it at plus 600, Netflix at plus 1500, and DAZN, DAZN at plus 2000.
Yeah, you know what? I think, as I said, what or whichever entity, whoever lands this thing, the price is going up continually because of the numbers that Amazon is putting up. You know, the amount of subscribers, and that's what it is. Particularly when you think about Disney, when you think of and the Disney, and I would be surprised if I was the NFL, because you make a good point, and lawyers will figure this out, right? You know, they're going to be really careful about how they let them put this out there, and so we'll let them figure that out. So I say Disney, fully understanding as part of the ESPN universe or vice versa. But think about let's just take Netflix, right? Because they just had an earnings call and the first thing they lead with is subscriber numbers, and Amazon proved that the NFL is an actual moneymaker. It's a driver. If you want this product, you're going to sign up for Netflix.
Yeah,
and really you still have the NFL product, right? The Red Zone, and then you have this that's up for bid, and AT&T has destroyed it. And whatever the number you gave for AT&T DirecTV. If I was the NFL, based on the way they're handling it this year, I wouldn't even let them bid on it.
Yeah,
or I might let them bid to drive the price up, but I would never let them get it.
I think YouTube's an interesting one too. I don't know about Netflix because I feel like Netflix puts more time and effort into creating their own shows, creating their more movies. I don't really watch a ton of Amazon Prime movies or shows that are like based on Amazon Prime.
Right.
Besides, obviously, they had the All or Nothing with the Cardinals back in the day and the Panthers and stuff like that. But I'd love to see it on YouTube. YouTube kind of step up to the plate there and get the NFL Sunday ticket. And it'll be interesting, too, if it's a monthly fee that they do, how much would it cost? And how much would it increase the right now cost of all of these streaming services? So that'll be something to watch out for them in the NFL, and then as well as the Pac-12, them trying to do something with TV. So,
well, I was trying to figure it out, too. When the Thursday night game went to Amazon, I don't know if they raised their prices to accommodate that. I mean,
I don't think so.
Prices go up. And so, again, whoever gets it, the number will probably begin with a B, a billion. That's where it starts. But they make that up in subscribers, and I don't know. I think we have Netflix, and I think it's like 17 something a month, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's one game a week. I don't think they really
one game or
because the Thursday night game is the only game. So if they made it like a package where you could watch every single game, you got to think it'd be probably what.
So we're talking about the Sunday ticket, right? We're talking about the Sunday ticket landing somewhere.
Yeah.
Man, I just think that would be such a huge driver for whoever gets it. Because I know I have Cox at home. Yes, I still have cable coming into the house. I have not cut the cord. But every Sunday, the Red Zone goes on. Every Sunday, right? You get the countdown at 9:58, settling in, and I have to have it on. And I can't watch a real game anymore. I watch the Red Zone.
Yeah.
So if I moved, or if we lost Cox or whatever, they moved that, I would pay for that. If Netflix, we have it now, and it's going to cost you an extra $5 a month, I would pay that. And I think this product, the Sunday ticket and the Red Zone, are so genius. I think it would. Whoever gets it is going to make a ton of money, and the NFL can set their price.
Yeah. 1,000%. An update on the Clemson-Syracuse game. Clemson's up 24-21 gross, and they're driving. Looks like Clemson's going to come back, win this game.
It's unfortunate.
Still be the 5th ranked. It'll be interesting to see how this affects their college football playoff standings,
Right.
how it affects them compared to other schools like a one-loss SEC team, an undefeated Pac-12 team, or a one-loss Pac-12 champion, and a Big 10 and a Big 12 champion, and as well as a Big 10 one-loss team. It's going to be interesting to see how the committee, when the rankings come out, I believe they come next week or in 2 weeks or so. It's usually around the Halloween time when the rankings come out.
Well, it's official. I no longer care about Syracuse.
It was about an hour and a half that you cared about Syracuse.
I cared about Syracuse for about an hour and a half. Right when we started coming on the show, I was like, "Yeah, check out Syracuse."
Yeah.
And then they went to halftime. They had that lead at the half. I'm like, "All right, we can get behind this." And I was talking about their next game, and forget it. I don't care. I don't care about Syracuse anymore.
That's funny.
All right, we'll step aside here. No, we won't. We'll step aside in a moment, and when we do, we're going to have Marco D'Angelo on. Good to have him back with us every Saturday, and we're going to pick a couple of games with him, a college game and a pro game. Also pick his brain a little bit on this interesting development in the NFC West. I'm just fascinated on how a single player not playing the quarterback position can drive a team's Super Bowl odds so dramatically the way that Christian McCaffrey did for the 49ers. So we'll pick Marco's brain about that. And also, we won't get into this much with Marco, but you look at the numbers about what will he play? Will he play this week? And this is a big game for the 49ers, right? And they've got Kansas City, and they already have odds set from Bet Online at 75.5, the over-under for total yards for him. So that assumes that he'll play. And then will he score a touchdown? It's a plus 150.
The last full season that McCaffrey played was back in 2019.
This is a huge.
The last 3 years, gross. The last 2 years, besides 2022, he's played in all of 6 games so far in 2022. But the ones prior, he's played in 10 games in 2022, 2020 and 2021 combined. So these last 3 years combined, he's been playing in 16 games.
It's very interesting because this is a risk reward play by the 49ers, and the idea, and they're following the Rams model. Like the idea is that whatever Christian McCaffrey brings to you is more valuable than what these draft picks would give you in the future.
And they obviously believe in Jimmy G so much that they're going to get McCaffrey to help him out there as well.
Absolutely.
Trey Lance is out for the year too.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're the 49ers, who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Rams.
The Rams did. So you're trying to do what they did, and the NFL, whatever it is, it's a copy league. Give the draft picks away to get an impact player, and that's what the 49ers did, and we'll see how it pays off for them. I heard something funny, too, and I can't remember who to give this credit for. Now you've got the 4 teams in the NFC West. 3 of them don't pay attention to the draft anymore because the 49ers and the Rams have basically cashed in all their future draft picks here for the near term. The Cardinals can't draft no matter how many draft picks they have. They're awful at it. And now that leaves the draft picking to the Seattle Seahawks going forward. So on the other side, our good friend Marco D'Angelo joins us. That's coming up next.
Take the points. Powered by CAZ Sports Bar's resident handicapper, Marco D'Angelo of WagerTalk.com joins us now on Fox Sports 910.
And every Saturday, Marco D'Angelo joins us here on the show. We talk to him about a couple of games and whatever else is on our minds before we let him get back to it. But Marco, how are you today?
What's up, Marco?
Doing good. Looking forward to a good weekend of games. We got the Arizona NFL team out of the way on Thursday. They got a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to typically, regular listeners know, and Marco certainly knows, we try to focus on the Arizona teams here doing what we do, but Cardinals have Sunday off, so it allows us to kind of broaden our horizons a little bit. But we'll start locally in the college game, Marco, tonight, a game that I know you did a preview on earlier the week, and you sent it out on Twitter. But the ASU Sun Devils, they head up to the Bay Area, and they play Stanford. Interesting in that you got a couple of teams with 2 wins on the season. Not impressive teams at all, but both coming off interesting wins. Arizona State, they beat Washington before they had a week off. And then Stanford beat Notre Dame. And now these two teams hook up. ASU is underdog by 2.5 points. And the point total I saw on that one most recently was 53.5.
Yes, you are correct on that. And this is one of those games where, plain and simple, it's all about the scheduling spot. Arizona State had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Yes, we're coming off of a big upset, 13.5-point underdog when they upset Washington. And as we know, go back to the middle of September, they fired Herm Edwards after the Eastern Michigan game. And then the new coach went 1-2. Well, the 2 losses were against Utah and Southern Cal. The team that won the Pac-12 last year and the team that everybody thinks should win the Pac-12 this year since Lincoln Riley took over at USC. So I'm dismissing those 2 games. They got the ship righted last time, and then they go into the 2-week bye. 2 weeks to prepare. I like to look at new coaches when they get that first break. And I used the big play earlier in the season with Nebraska, the second when they had their bye week, because the new coach gets a chance to revamp things. You look at what's working, you throw out what's not working, you fine-tune what is working, and in that bye week, he can add a wrinkle or 2. So from the Arizona State side, obviously, I like them today. What I also like is going against Stanford. Stanford is coming off a monster win last week. I know Notre Dame is down, but anytime you get these 20-year-old kids get an opportunity to play at South Bend, that is a big, big game. Doesn't matter what the records are for Notre Dame. And the fact that they went into Notre Dame, not only went in there, with all the tradition of, South Bend in that stadium, they won as a 16.5-point underdog. I just don't see them being able to come back and be properly focused for Arizona State. Throw in one more wrinkle to all of this. Look at who Stanford plays next week. They play undefeated UCLA. So and that's a big brother game. You hear me talk about that all the time. When you're, the smaller team in the state, you get up for the big games. Obviously, they always are going to get up for, Cal as their main rival, but the big brothers are USC and UCLA. Horrible spot for Stanford. I think Arizona gets the job done tonight. Arizona State will go ahead, take them plus the points. I got them winning 28-24.
He's Marco D'Angelo. Follow him on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. The website, a lot of great content, wagertalk.com.
All right, second game here, Marco. We're gonna switch it to the NFL. We're gonna talk Chiefs-Niners. Chiefs favored 2 in this matchup, over under 49. What do you make of this matchup, especially with all of the trade going on with McCaffrey as well?
Well, obviously, the McCaffrey trade is the big news, but, not be a factor for this game, obviously, because of the late trade in the week and so forth. What that does tell me, though, with this trade is the 49ers are all in on this season. They mortgaged the house to get Christian McCaffrey. I think they overpaid. Running backs in the NFL, you just can't do that because they're not durable, and especially Christian McCaffrey. I think he's missed 23 of Carolina's last 33 games. You give up a second, third, and fourth round draft pick next year, and then a fifth round the following year. That's a lot of draft picks for, a running back. But they feel they have a Super Bowl contender this year, and they need to shore up the running game. So that's a good sign as far as from management to this team. Now, for this week, I do like the 49ers. They're banged up on defense, and that's a little bit of a concern, but I'm looking at this Kansas City Chiefs team, and they're coming off a monster game last week. And I know they lost the game, and the knee-jerk reaction in a game like that is, they're going to bounce back this week. But, guys, you've got to figure, after last year's playoff game and everything that we heard in the off season, about the overtime and, losing the coin toss, that's the only reason they won. When they saw that schedule come out and they saw they were playing Kansas City and Buffalo again this year, both teams had that game circled on their calendar. And it lived up to everything we thought it would last week. It came down to the final possession of the game, and Buffalo made the final stop. But for Kansas City, now they got to pick themselves up off the mat, travel out on the road and play the 49ers. This is going to be the third big game in a row for Kansas City, and actually you could say four, because they played the Sunday night game against Tampa, then they played the Monday night game against the Raiders, a division game, and then Buffalo last week, and now a fourth game in a row on the road against the San Francisco team that can run the football and play physical football with you and dominate the time of possession. And I think that is what's going to happen in this game. Kansas City, we know they can score, but Tampa Bay, with all the problems they're having this year, put up 31 on them. You had the Raiders put up 29, and they, bypass kicking the extra point and going to overtime, did that 2-point conversion attempt, which failed, and then the Buffalo game. And although the Buffalo game was 24-20, guys, if you watch that game, both teams went up and down the field and missed several opportunities in the red zone with key turnovers or missed field goals. I think San Francisco gets the job done here. The 49ers have the number one ranked defense in yards per play allowed, in total yards allowed. They're number two. As I said, they do have some injuries, but I still think it's enough to get them the win at home. We're going to take it, San Francisco, and I'm calling for the same score here. I'm calling 28-24 San Francisco to get the win.
He's Marco D'Angelo. Follow him on Twitter at Marco in Vegas, the website wagertalk.com. Marco, real quickly, going back to the Christian McCaffrey trade to the 49ers, we were reading a story that we saw online about how the money is moving around the 49ers now in terms of their Super Bowl odds. And I saw something from one of the sites up there in Las Vegas that said that the Niners title odds went from 16-1 after they lost the game the other day to 11-1 now that they've landed a player. And I find that remarkable based on what you just said around the durability of Christian McCaffrey recently. But also we know from visiting with you historically, when we talk about individual games, it takes a lot for players not playing quarterback to really move significantly a number relative to some of these games. And I don't know, am I wrong? Does that seem like just an overreaction initially to this trade in relation to that number?
It absolutely is, but I think part of it also is the fact, because just like I said, they're sending a message they're all in on the Super Bowl this year. If you look at the rest of the NFC, who is the dominant team in the NFC? Are you sold on Philadelphia yet? I mean, they're the only undefeated team, but let's be honest, the Eagles have played one of the easiest schedules in the NFL so far. I feel the way the Rams have struggled, the way the Cardinals have struggled, that San Francisco is going to be the team that emerges out of the NFC West. And because of everybody else being mediocre, they have a very good chance of getting, if not the number one seed, the number two seed. Granted, they've got a couple losses so far. And the biggest problem with the 49ers, and it's been a problem for several years, they have a tendency of playing to the level of their competition. When it's the big games, you always get the best effort out of them. But like we saw last week against Atlanta, you had a 3-turnover game. It's almost like they're not focused. They feel that they just have to show up and they're going to win. But I think the 49ers,
when healthy, right now are the best team in the NFC.
Interesting. He's Marco D'Angelo. And again, the website is wagertalk.com. And as we let you go, Marco, what a great time for sports fans this October, late October timeframe is. You got, obviously, football, college, professional. You've got the start of the NBA, the NHL season.
UFC going on right now.
UFC, and, of course, Major League Baseball. And you guys have it all covered at wagertalk.com.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do, guys, is download our app. It's Wager Talk TV. You can get all of the free shows that we do. We've got shows on every sport, every day. Check it out, a ton of free plays. And, of course, you can check out my favorite show, the college and pro edition of Bet On It. I do that show every Wednesday, and it's up on the app by Wednesday evening.
And like I said, if you follow Marco directly, at Marco in Vegas on Twitter, you can go back from earlier this week and check out his thoughts in detail on this ASU-Stanford game coming up later on this afternoon. Marco, as always, good stuff. We'll do it again next week.
All right, guys, enjoy the games, and let's cash some tickets.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Marco
sir.
D'Angelo every Saturday joins us right here on Fox Sports 910 from Las Vegas. Always appreciate his insights on stuff. And he's in that camp that the 49ers overpaid with that draft capital for Christian McCaffrey.
I love when he says let's cash some tickets at the end of every time we have him.
Yeah.
Always gets me fired up.
Ready to go, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll step aside here, and on the other side, we'll come back and wrap up today's edition of the show coming up right here on Fox Sports 910.
to Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Thanks again to Marco D'Angelo of WagerTalk.com for joining us in our last segment. If you missed it, the two games we covered with Marco, Stanford, ASU, and San Francisco, Kansas City, and he likes ASU, getting the 2.5 points in that one. And doing the math, he likes the under.
The under.
And then he likes the 49ers, 28-24 over the Chiefs.
And the over and that as well. Yeah, I don't know about the 49ers. I don't know about that pick for him, but I like the ASU pick.
I like the ASU pick too. And why don't we do this?
Let's do our pick.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So let me ask you this, though. We have a hard and fast rule here. You get unlimited vacation time if you work on the show. So you just take a week off whenever you want, says the guy who took back-to-back Saturdays off. Bauer's off today, but the rule is if you take a Saturday off, you got to get your picks in before we do this segment. So the question on the table right now is, did Bauer get his picks in time to be included?
He did.
All right.
He did indeed.
All right.
So first game, Arizona State at Stanford. We mentioned earlier, Stanford favored in this matchup, -2.5. Bauer is going Stanford -2.5. And for me personally, I don't know who I favored in this matchup, so I'm going to take the under 53.5 in this matchup.
All right. I was leaning Stanford before we did the show today. Then Marco, he came in and changed my mind on this one, okay? Because you look at this and I love what he said about when teams are going through a coaching change and then they get a bye week. And then the other thing that Marco is very, very consistent on when he talks to us about games is looking at where the teams have come from recently. Big win in South Bend for Stanford, and then what's ahead for them and their matchup against UCLA. So this is a game that Stanford, not that a 2-win team should be overlooking anyone, but there's that possibility. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 2.5 points and give me the Sun Devils in this one. I like the way Marco broke it down. He actually changed my mind on this one.
Okay. All right. I like it. And then Hoodzo obviously earlier went ASU +2.5 as well. Next game, 9 UCLA at 10 Oregon is currently playing right now. We made these picks way before the show even started, right before the game even started. Just started. So Oregon favored in this matchup -6.5, and that is where Bauer's going. Bauer thinks Oregon -6.5 there. I'm going the other alternate. I'm going UCLA +6.5. This is a great UCLA team. This is probably the better team that Chip Kelly has coached in his coaching era.
Right.
I like DTR. I like the running back Chardonnay. They got a great wide receiver, Jake Bobo. They got some talent on the offensive side, but can also punish defensively. This will be a high-scoring game. Over-under in this was 70.5. But I think UCLA, I don't know if they win the game, but I think it's less than 6.5 points.
I'm going to go the other direction. I like Oregon in this one. Eugene is such a tough place to play, and I don't know what it is about this UCLA team. A lot of people are all in on them. I think Oregon got their wake-up call, as I mentioned earlier in the show. They got their wake-up call earlier in the season. I mentioned that earlier on our show today. I like Oregon big in this one, whatever reason. Eugene, tough place to play, not sold on UCLA, all the above. I'll lay those 6.5. Give me Oregon all day long on this one.
And then lastly, Chiefs -2 at the 49ers. Over-under there is 49 points. Like we mentioned before, myself, Bauer, and Hoodzo are all favoring Chiefs -2 here. I just don't see the Chiefs losing 2 back-to-back games. You know Mahomes is going to be fired up, coming back after a tough loss against the Bills. Wasn't his best performance. He struggled against the Bills, had 2 interceptions last week. I think he bounces back big against the 49ers.
Yeah, you know what? I look at this too, and I hate to do this because it doesn't necessarily make for any controversy or anything like that, but I'm with you. Give me this Chiefs team. The 2.5 doesn't worry me at all. Patrick Mahomes is just at a different level. And if you break this one down quarterback on quarterback, you're going to favor the Chiefs all day long in this one. And I get it. You have off weeks in the NFL. Kansas City had theirs earlier this year against the Colts, I believe. But this is a very average-looking San Francisco team to date, and it shouldn't be. They're so talented, and they don't have the excuse that like you can look at the Rams and say, well, let's excuse early season Super Bowl hangover, right? You don't worry about or think that you're not going to be talking about the Rams later on in the season. I don't know what the 49ers excuse is here, but they have looked very, very average so far this year. So I'm with you guys. Give me the Chiefs.
They got a ton of injuries, too, and this would be a huge –
Is George Kittle playing? Have you seen?
I haven't really seen the injury reports recently about the 49ers, if I'm being honest. But when you think about it, too, hey, the Cardinals, if the Niners lose, they're tied. Niners and Cardinals are tied. They're in a great position right now in the NFC West, which the NFC West and the NFL in general has been kind of an average start to the season.
Right.
You see a lot of people that are 3-3, 2-4. Like we mentioned earlier, Lamar Jackson 3-3, Matt Stafford 3-3, Aaron Rodgers, like all these primetime quarterbacks that we were expecting to excel, Joe Burrow, all in the 3-3, 2-4 belt. So for Cardinals fans out there, yes, they're looking better. Yeah, but they're not far behind from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, they got a lot to fix, but you look at it, the rest of the NFC West is giving them the room to fix it. Nobody's running away and hiding right now. The Cardinals are 3-4. Everybody else in the division right now at 3-3. And I think Marco made an interesting point that I don't necessarily agree with him on, but it's not polite to disagree multiple times with your guest. But he talked about the Eagles and where they stand relative to the rest of the NFC. On the one hand, I get it. Like, you look at this team and say, okay, you're like, look who they played and all that. But they are 6-0. And you look around the rest of the NFC. If you're in the NFC West, everybody's got 3 losses. If you're in the NFC South, everybody's got 3 losses. The Vikings are at 5-1. The Giants are at 5-1. And the Eagles are at 6-0. At some point, you're going to run out of room to catch them if you're the rest of these teams. But nobody's running away and hiding. Somebody's got to win the South. Somebody's got to win the West. Even the Packers. Like, the Packers are getting to the point where they need to be – well, they need to be concerned if you just watch them playing on the field. But they're running out of room as they sit at 3-3 behind the Minnesota Vikings. So this NFC is really, really interesting right now. Yeah. Nobody's running away and hiding, which I think is going to make for good football down the stretch if you're a fan of any of these teams that are at 3 losses. I mean, you look at it. Obviously, Detroit, 1 win. Carolina, 1 win. They're trading players away, and I'm sorry. Commanders are at 2 wins, and it kind of flies in the face of what I'm saying, but I'm not buying it at all. They're out of it as well. So you only can say a handful of teams in the NFC are out of it right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy how a year ago the Cardinals were undefeated and they were kind of viewed as the best team in the NFL too. So we'll see. It's early. I like this Eagles team. I like how Jalen Hurts is leading. It's the most complete team in football right now besides the Bills.
Well, and what's the old saying? You are what your record says you are. So again, I at one level I understand what Marco's saying, but this is week 7 now of the NFL season. We're not talking about somebody who got lucky in 2 weeks of the year and we're still got so much football to play. It's going to be November soon. Obviously they're 6-0, and so you got to take that and do what you will with it.
So quick updates for college football right now. The second slate has just begun. Ole Miss up 7-0 against LSU. UCLA driving right now inside the red zone, down 3-0 against Oregon. And then Arizona product. South Point Catholic. I think you know who I'm going with. Bijan Robinson just scored a 42-yard touchdown as Texas takes the lead, 7-3 over Oklahoma State, ranked 11. Texas ranked 20.
My man. And you know what? I'm going to go on record right now. I call people out when they're wrong. Well, I was wrong. When he signed with Texas, I was like, I don't get it. Ohio State wanted you. Alabama wanted you. USC wanted you, and you're going to go to Texas of all places?
He wants to be that guy.
He wants to be that guy. And he said, this is the best place or the best way for me to get to the NFL. We're going to be watching Bijan Robinson in the NFL before too long. And don't forget Monday Night Tailgate this Monday, the Bears and the Patriots from CAZ Sports Bar right here at Casino Arizona. Kickoff jackpot is at $1,400. Doors open at 3 o'clock. Rock Manuch with Jimmy B along with Jackson. Everybody out here, your chance to win cash for watching football. Great food and drink specials. Come on out and see the guys. Like I said, doors open at 4 o'clock this week for the Bears and the Patriots. Should be a good one. You can step up to the Sportsbook. Enjoy the game with a little bit of money on it. CAZ Sports Bar, your place for Monday Night Football all season long. That's going to about do it. Thanks to our guests today, Damian Anderson and Marco D'Angelo. Appreciate those guys coming on talking football with us. Good job, Jack. We didn't even miss Bauer, did we? At all?
We missed him, but yeah, we usually make fun of Bauer sometimes during the show, so I do miss that. But yeah, hopefully Bauer's doing well. He's always up to something.
He'll be back next Saturday. Great job by Richie back in the studio. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next Saturday right here from Casino, Arizona, CAZ Sports.